Don't worry. If they're Wales, we'll be quorum.
Yeah.
Well, I introduced that piece. That's quite funny, isn't it?
I could probably have a meeting on my own. Yeah, there are 3 people there.
That's 8 o'clock.
Okay, good evening and welcome to this meeting of Woodley Town Council's Strategy and Resources Committee, being held today on the 16th of April. Woodley Town Council meetings are now recorded, with recordings streamed live and saved on the Town Council's YouTube channel. By virtue of attending the meeting, you consent to having your image and audio recorded for this purpose. If you do not wish for your image or audio to be recorded, please do not stay for the meeting. For those in attendance, we're not expecting a fire drill tonight, so if you hear the fire alarm, please head to the nearest fire exit and congregate at the fire assembly point by the Oakwood Centre at the front of Wood Park. Right, my name's Alison Swaddle and I'm chairing this meeting as the chairman. Keith cannot be here. Do we have any other apologies?
We do have apologies. We have apologies from councillors Baker, Chadwick, Kennedy and Nagra.
Thank you. Councillors, do we have any declarations of interest relating to the business of this meeting?
No.
No. Thank you. Now we turn to the minutes of the meeting held on the 23rd of January 2024. These were provided to the full council and noted. Are we happy as a committee to approve those?
Yeah.
Yes, thank you. Moving to item 4, which we'll find in Appendix 4, we'll review the actions and follow-ups from previous meetings of this committee.
Does anyone have any questions on those updates?
Yeah, I know it's early days, but minute 8, do we have any more updates on the CCTV tender?
Yes, I can provide an update there. The closing date for the tenders has now passed, and we are going through those submissions, some of which are quite weighty. They will be shortlisted down for those that meet the criteria, and then I'm arranging a meeting with the interested partners to agree the final one, or the preferred one, that will come back to Strategy and Resources to make a decision.
In my mind.
Okay, Beth.
I'd just like to register my unhappiness with item 7, register this committee looking at youth work. I believe we've now been without any proper youth work for some years. We spent a lot of money about 3 years or so ago employing someone to look at it for us, interviewing a lot of people. I can't remember who they called, the guy that's done it twice before.
Yes, I can't remember his name.
Can't remember his name. I don't know what that cost us, and we're in 2024, and the state of our youth is worse than it was pre-COVID, especially around mental health issues, let alone having something to do and someone to talk to. And I think it's a disgrace that we've got nothing up and running after all this time, with all the money being spent. There's still nothing appropriate, and we're still going to have to do more work on it. When the pupils that we would have targeted 2 years ago will be parents by the time we get this going, and that's just too late for them.
So, well, as a result of the process you just discussed, we did invite tenders to provide what we felt we needed, and I think Kevin confirmed we did not have any application.
No, and I think perhaps the progress that's been made through the Task and Finish group more recently it is much more encouraging than that we had previously. That group has worked through a number of very specific actions. Firstly, to deliver a survey of young people, which we struggle with, the mechanics of how to do that and who would do that. And we do have a plan for that. We've been talking with a partner about that, and that looks like we've got something good to go. That as a first step is significantly further than we'd got previously, and I think also opens a door for us going forwards in terms of having potentially an ongoing partnership there for doing some work. But yeah, thanks, Ed.
I mean, I'm really disappointed that the council chose to destroy the relationship we've had with Jack over a number of years and the youth work they've done for us, and put them in such a position that they don't want to work with us ever again. The relationship has really broken down.
When you say the council did that,
I think it was one person, wasn't
I think that was some councillors, unfortunately. Steve, did you have a question?
No, thank you.
Okay. Right.
Thank you, Chair. Can I just ask on minute 76 on page 7, the Weagle Park point, a letter was sent on 7th February. I've just asked if there's any update.
I haven't had a response to that letter, but I could do with chasing in the absence of a response.
Look, thank you.
Are there any other comments, questions? Thank you. Moving on to item 5, finance. Receive the report on page 8 about budgetary control. Anybody have any questions? Kevin?
So a couple of things there, if it's helpful, Chair. Just to note expenditure shown here at month 12 on page 8. As reported previously, staff, equipment and licenses slightly over 100%. That was impacted by the National Pay Award and our investment in some additional software to do with the bookings and accounting software. Overall expenditure is where we'd expect at the year end. Income wise, so just on to the next page on page 9, income over the year has been very strong, largely from interest from our deposit account funds and the funds that we have in the CCLA, and also the Oakwood Centre room hire income, which is shown later in the agenda in a bit more detail, but that's coming in at around 36,500 over initial budget. That's really picked up this year to get us back where we were sort of pre-COVID. So I'll talk about that a bit later. Any questions?
Looking at page 10, payments, as set out in appendix A and B. Any questions on that? Rob?
Yes, thank you, Chair. I went through these figures very early one Saturday morning while listening to Tony Blackburn, and there was a few that leapt out at me. So I emailed Kevin with my long list of questions, and bless his cotton socks, he replied back with full and frank answers for all of them. So I haven't got to sit here and be really boring, except one I missed out, I can't find it now. So a woman's bar. Where was that? There was one, so I'll put you on the spur here. So I just wanted to say the benefit of going through these figures and emailing the clerk beforehand is really good, because he came back and answered all my points and I've got no concerns there at all. Reading Ladies Bar, 9th of February, Reading Ladies Bar, £300.
Find that. Which page are you on?
Ladies
there?
Bar.
Sorry.
Page 15. Am I on the right bit going out still?
I think ladies, but
Page 15, 5 from the bottom.
I can't tell you what that is, but I can find out.
There you are. See, there we are. That's the whole point of sending in advance questions, so you get answers for the meeting. I just thought that was quite interesting. But on that long list I sent you, Kevin, I did miss that one off. But thank you for your answers. They are great, and it shows that you are chasing the value for money. Yes.
Just a quick question, on page 10, third from the bottom, can I just ask what SLCC is? It's an annual membership fee, but I wondered what that was.
So that's the Society of Local Council Clerks.
Thank you.
And yes, both myself and Matthew have a membership to the SLCC, which is a great resource for all sorts of things, for advice and other things for training.
Okay, moving on. 5C, the internal audit. To receive the audit report of the council's internal auditors following their second interim audit, which took place on the 23rd of January 2024. This is on page 18. Pleased to note, it says the council continues to operate a satisfactory system of financial control. What do you think you wanted to add, Kevin?
Yeah, just I think perhaps pages 27 to 29 are probably the key section, which is some recommendations, and there's under the third column there, the council response, just to show where we are addressing those things or have already done so. What we found is this format with the new internal audit that we had last year and continuing with this year has been really, really helpful for us to really simply address identified recommendations. So we just work through them, and it's working really well for us. I know the leisure services managers finding that helpful as well, just in day-to-day stuff. So.
Any questions? Beth?
Yeah, could I just ask about the authorisation of payments?
Yeah.
Because he changed that system and it sounded quite complex what he was suggesting.
So what we had a system which came into being during COVID, which moved us from physically coming in and signing each document to something which involved sending out a payments batch by email and then getting an emailed confirmation back. That was absolutely fine. What the internal auditor recommended was that it was just made slightly clearer in the email that came back in the wording, so that it said fully authorised by the councillor who was sending it back, and then that's then kept with the payments batch. So we just tweaked it slightly to make sure that's happening. That is then kept with the payments batch, so that audit trail is in place.
And are most of the payments these days made by back transfers rather than cheques?
We haven't checked for ages. Yeah.
That's quite right, yeah.
Thank you, Kevin. Item D, PSPF funds, this is on page 30, which is the public sector deposit fund.
We could all go on a cruise.
To note the updated position with regards to the council's funds within the CCLA Public Sector Deposit Fund. Is there anything you wanted to add, Kevin?
Again, just to note, really, I think so that the two tables, the one on the left is the fund for repaying back the loans on the Oakwood Centre, and the dates for those are listed at the bottom of that box. So you can see that's the £2 million to repay that. We've got a nice bit of interest there over and above, which you can see over and above the 2 million, which is a bonus, has been really helpful. And that is due to the fact that the investments portfolio performed really well up until that point when we liquidated it and put that money into the CCLA. So that's done really well. The box on the right is all the council's other money that's not in the bank account, so in the deposit account. So that's the other money in the CCLA, which again is providing a good rate of interest there. So that's just for information.
So you're talking about the precept there?
Yes, so that's split slightly between what's in the deposit account for some operational costs and the rest of it being in there.
Moving on to item 6, earmark reserve changes on page 31. We're being asked to consider the release of redundant earmark reserves back to general reserve and the amalgamation of some existing earmark reserves. There are two proposals.
To summarise
Yes,
the proposals, Chair. So proposal 1 here is to combine some existing earmarked reserves that have a balance of funds for capital investment in Woodford Park Leisure Centre into the Woodford Park Leisure Centre's buildings earmarked reserve. We've ended up through having had different projects and initiatives with money in some different pots. And it would make sense, particularly at this time while we're looking at the potential for investment in the centre, that money is put into in one place. Proposal 2, just back to proposal 1. That first box there on page 31 shows the 3 pots of money. So the proposal is for all that to go into the one, which would leave a balance of 76, just under 77,000 in that pot. That is the earmarked reserve as well that we are putting funds into annually. So that fund will go up every year so that we've always got some money, some capital money ready for investment in our buildings, in our income generating services. Proposal 2 is about the release of some earmarked reserves, which are either residual balances from specific previous projects or are just no longer required. So all in all, you can see those there, and then there are some very historic ones that have just been sat there for quite some time. We cleared a lot and released them last year, and this year what I'd like to do is do the same with these, because they're not going anywhere, they're not going to be used for anything specific, to release those back into the general reserve. And yeah, that's what we're asking.
So are we being asked to vote to approve these? Because it simply says members to note the contents of the report.
And the second recommendation should be that members consider the earmarked reserve changes set out in the report. So yes, you've been asked to consider proposal 1 to 2 as a decision.
Are there any questions?
No.
Can I just say, I think this is a really sensible move. I can't see the point of having little pots of money all over the place, because you then don't know what you've actually got, and to have it all in one place and for a specific purpose, I think is a much better control. So I'm happy to vote for this.
Yeah.
Are we happy to approve both proposals together?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's unanimous. Thank you. Moving on to item 7 is open centre income updates. It's on page 33 and 34. We've got 2 graphs and tables. Anything you want to add, Kevin?
Just to note, as I mentioned earlier, room hire has performed really well in the year. Very pleased with that. So income at the year end is just over 102,000 against a budget of 65, which is great. We have seen both business bookings and social bookings come back really strongly this year, which is very good news. The second chart, excuse me, on page 34 is the catering income, which has been very consistent actually, and has tracked very close to the anticipated budget, and also very close to the actual income in 22-23. That's largely, it doesn't necessarily track with the room hire income, because what we found is a lot of the social bookings have been having external caterer, but a specialised caterer for Asian foods and things like that. So this is largely the coffee shop, which has been very steady, remarkably so, I would say, over the last 2 years, which is good.
Okay, well, Kevin, can you pass on to all of your team? So it's incredible income against the budget. I think it's a tribute to the way the centre's run, it's promoted. The Oakwood Centre's got an excellent reputation, I think, locally, and a lot of word of mouth. People saying, you know, why don't you book here? So please do thank all of the officers.
Awesome. Can I just ask a quick clarifying question? Kevin, I know we read the pricing structure.
Yes.
Do you think that is working? Is that clear? Is everybody happy with that?
Yeah, feedback we've had from customers is anecdotally that it's clearer, and from a staff perspective as well. People aren't afraid of giving that price for something, because it's much clearer about what we're actually
And we're doing less of the,
It's them, let's do this, it's them.
Absolutely. Just a small update on that. I've been doing a bit of work with the bookings manager this week to do with some of those bookings which were reported previously to Strategy and Resources, which didn't sit within the current price of policy. There will be a report coming back to the next meeting with some of those. We've made a plan to migrate some of those policies back to approved charges, and there are a couple in there which will just need a decision of this committee as to where they sit, just because they are slightly exceptional. So yes, that's all in hand, and we'll come back to next meeting.
Thank you, Kevin.
Okay, moving on, item 8. This is a report from the Standing Audit and Financial Regulations Subcommittee that I am a member of. I don't think any of the other members are here this evening. There are a few changes we've got. Well, yeah,
There's 2
there are
recommendations.
2 changes that you're being asked to approve and then would be presented to the full council for adoption. Anybody got any questions about these? I think we are in a continuous process of ensuring that our standing orders and financial regulations are sensible, clear, and, you know, making sure that we're all able to understand the rules and do the best for our residents. So if we are all happy for the changes for issues 1, 3 and 6, and to remove standing order 20.3A3. Raise your hands on that. Yes, thank you very much. The updated financial regulations as set out in Appendix B. Are you happy to approve those?
Yeah.
Thank you very much. Okay, moving on to item 9. So we're looking at the proposed capital projects. On page 57. Kevin, do you want to take us through this?
Yes, thank you, Chair. This report contains 2 proposals for the allocation of funds to specific projects. Proposal 1, which contains 3 project items, which I'll talk about. These are Christmas lighting. So that's for the installation and purchases of lighting at the Christmas tree for Christmas 2024. This earmark reserve would continue to be funded in future years for the purchases of new and additional lighting. But the installation cost in future years would come out of the regular council budget this year, and proposing it comes out to that earmarked reserve. And the residue in there would be funding that would go towards future purchases. The second project is related to climate emergency. There was a report, SR 1424, a little later in the agenda, for a specific project to come from there. Basically, that's a proposal of funds to be allocated to carry out a carbon footprint assessment of the council's activities, which will enable us to identify and see exactly where we are against our targets set out in the climate emergency action plans. We've never actually calculated that, and we're not going to achieve it if we can't measure it. So that's the proposal later for that, but the proposal here is for an allocation of funds initially for that project, and also for that money left in that earmarked reserve going forwards to be similar initiatives to do with us achieving our climate emergency objectives, of which there are going to be more going forwards. It's not going to be a thing. The third item is the allotment roadways, which I did speak a little about at the Leisure Services Committee, that the roadways are in poor condition and are presenting a real issue for tenants just being able to get around the site. Historically, annual repairs were carried out by a group of tenants who were able to obtain some materials. Sometimes we obtained the materials and they had a day filling in holes and worked really hard to do that. Great as that was, it was never a long-term solution to it, and that hasn't been able to happen for a couple of years. That combined with an increase in the number of plots, we've got more cars up there, more people, and the amount of rain we've had in the last 2 years, they're in pretty poor shape. So the project here is to level those roadways with a contractor, with a digger, and install a stone surface, which compacted stone surface, which will also be able to maintain much better and top up as required. Also requires a small attachment for the tractor for the amenities team to be able to do that. Means we'll have a proper surface on those vehicle access ways and be able to maintain them better going forwards. So those are the projects in proposal 1. There is a project assessment in relation to the allotment roadways as a capital project. It's Appendix A for information. I don't know, Chair, if you want me to talk about proposal 2 at the same time, or do the.
I know if on the Appendix 9, the current capital project schedule, it mentions reinforcement of the memorial ground path. Now, residents have repeatedly asked me about approving the path the Ravensbourne Road
Yeah.
end of Woodford Park. And there's no mention of that. I know you said it was something we would consider.
Yes, so we're currently pricing that up. Once that's becomes an approved project, it would go onto the list. While it's being investigated along with a couple of other projects, you'll see that they're captured in the item at the start of the agendas with follow-ups and etc. So the allotments borehole, for example.
But the money has been allocated to that.
No, for this one it has, because this work has started on the memorial ground.
I thought we had 70,000.
No, that was just a report that I brought about where we were with it in terms of what the likely level of funding was. We're still looking at some options for that and doing an assessment along with the other pathways in the park, so that we've got a programme of pathway improvements for the park, which will come back to SNR at the next meeting for consideration.
Yeah, I see the memorial ground path grass reinforcement was due to start yesterday.
It has.
It has. They've made great progress.
Any questions?
Just a quick comment about the allotments, roadways.
Yeah.
It strikes me that that would be helpful, given the wider discussions we've had about fires there. And if this is going to be really helpful to encourage people to use their vehicles to take their rubbish to the recycling centre.
Possibly, I think
Rather than burn.
it will be actually, and in a back to front kind of way. It does introduce some other issues which we're talking with the allotments committee about, which is people driving too fast. And the better the surface is, the more tempting it is
Of course.
to drive inappropriately on them. So that's kind of a
But will we put some signage up about speed limits?
yes, and we have done that. We'll do a push on that as part of the same project, because actually some people will do that.
Could we put that in a tenants agreement when they sign up, saying that
It is,
they need
yeah,
to,
it is in there.
It is in there.
yeah. My voice doesn't sound very healthy doing anything, but it's just,
Right.
And so are we happy with the proposal?
Very happy.
Yeah, yes.
Kevin? Explain the proposal.
Yes, so proposal 2 is to approve spending specifically from the Oakwood Centre Capital Earmarked Reserve, which already exists and has a current balance of £35,500 in it. That includes an allocation we put in the budget this year of £30,000 for projects such as this. The projects here are the replacement of the central heating pumps, which is 2 dual pumps that power the whole central heating system for the building. That would replace the existing units, which are the original ones. So they're 20 years old and done pretty well, to be fair. One of them's died, the other one probably won't be much longer for this world. So that is a project which needs to happen. That will set us up with the new boilers that have already been installed. Will set us up for the next 10 to 15 years for the heating in this building. There is a project assessment there on page 62. And the second project here is for the installation of acoustic panelling sections in Carnival Hall, where we have the full council meetings. We have a number of other council meetings, and we hire that space, obviously, for lots of meetings. The sound quality in there, due to lots of flat surfaces, very high ceiling, is pretty poor. That's something which has come up and been mentioned quite a few times. I know Councillor Rowlands a few times as well. There was a request to research what might be done about that. We went to a few companies and had some assessments done, and the first stage of improving that will be with acoustic panels, which don't look much. They're just plain panels which have to be fitted to the walls and ceiling in specific places to absorb sound, and should greatly improve the sound in that room. So that's the first step in seeing what we can do with that. That obviously has an impact on the recorded meetings and broadcasting it, which is where it tends to be worse, because microphones struggle to pick up that sound bouncing off walls. So that's the intention there. And the amenities team would install that to the specification of the manufacturer who's surveyed the room.
Could I just ask, because I know something about acoustic panelling, will it appear like a ceiling like this in that hall? Or is it
No, so,
just look around?
so it would be flush, basically plain white panel, which would be on the walls and on the angle seats. There'd be nothing hanging down. You can get ones that would hang down if if it wasn't enough. So there are different.
So the sound is still going up.
Sound will still be going up. It's just instead of bouncing off, it's absorbed on those panels. So it's not just constantly bouncing off everything.
Are they able to say how much, like it would be 25% better? Or 50%
Yeah,
better?
we were provided with a scientific assessment and a chart, and also an audio example of what that difference might be, which was quite significant. How that will translate into exactly what happens when it's in, we'll see. But there is a scientific measurement as to what that improvement is, which was quite significant.
And it might only be part of the solution, because that just stops it bouncing back. You might need to look at better audio stuff as well to increase the sound. But I've been in rooms with those and they do make a lot of difference.
Yeah, 'cause at the
Where
moment,
there's a lot of people.
yeah, even in this room, we it's quite bouncy. It's not too bad. On carpet. It's relatively small with a low ceiling, but yeah, that room's not great.
So is this just a hope that that will be sufficient?
It will certainly have an improvement based on the information they provided, so it will definitely be an improvement. And I think the extent to which that is satisfactory, we will have to measure and see if there's anything else we can do, and there will be more we can do if deemed necessary.
Good.
Good. Are we happy to approve the heating pumps and acoustic panelling?
Yes.
Thank you. Moving on to item, just to look at the capital projects schedule on page 68. And I jumped ahead and already. Anybody have any questions?
Could I just ask a quick question about the line marking in car parks? At Chapel Hall, that sideway, we had a conversation some time ago, I can't remember who it was with, about putting a white line across the speed hump because several people had fallen and tripped on it. Is that part of that line marking, or is that an individual, somebody needs to go and draw a white line on it?
I will check.
Thank you.
If it's not, they need to do it with it.
I think if people have been injured, then that's quite urgent to do that. How long ago was it you reported that, Gillian?
There were two. So the first one was last year, autumn time, and the last one was just after Christmas.
That may have been done in the work that's been done, so I haven't checked.
Quite possibly, I haven't.
Any other comments?
No.
No, all good.
Okay.
And it's really nice to see so many completed already.
Yes.
Right.
Chair, Alison,
Yes.
one of my pet projects is this water refill station, Kevin. So if we've got a TBC, does that imply it's going to be after August 24? Being the latest date we've got on it.
Not necessarily, it's just that Colin's team are up against it.
Yes.
Frankly, and I don't have a date for it. It's probably not that massive a job. It's just that they've got a lot of things on at the moment, and pressing things in the pathway here, for example, this week. So as soon as I've got a date for that, we will get it in and get it done.
Do we still have a vacancy in the maintenance team?
We don't know.
Good.
We did recruit a new maintenance officer about 6 weeks ago now, which is actually working out really well. So
That should make a difference.
That should make- yeah.
Okay, moving to item 10, community grants. We've been asked to consider amending the maximum grant amount as stated in both the community and individual grant guidelines. The maximum is currently set at £250. Now, at our meeting in November 23, we made a decision to increase the grant amount awarded to successful applicants to £350.
We did.
Yeah, we did. So we're being asked to consider to make that.
Well, so this, I can explain this one.
Yeah.
The decision minuted in November was that for the applications that were considered at that meeting, they would be increased to 350, but there was no resolution about the amount changing
Okay.
longer term or
Ongoing.
changing
Right.
the changing the guidelines amount. So this is asking you to formally consider what to relate that to. I provided in Appendix 11 on page 69 a bit of data to do with that. I think the key figures really to look at is under the black line at the bottom on the right hand side. What I've tried to do is, based on using the total amount of budget divided by the number of people that were successful, what would be the average amount of budget spent to be or spend the full amount of the budget. And you'll see over the last 10 years, it would be about £280, and the individual grants would be about £115. The reason to give that figure is just to give you an idea. If you go 350, based on previous figures, that would mean that some of those applicants historically that would have been given would not have been able to get those grants. But it shows that actually you definitely have more than £250 per person to spend. So I hope that data gives you just a little bit of background to what you might choose to do.
Yeah, I believe that we are already, Woodley Town Council, one of the most generous councils in the borough, which I think we all support. I want to be able to continue that. But obviously we've got to manage the money carefully. £250 grants, well, from the budget, enables us to help 12 organisations. Increasing to 350 means it would be 9 organisations. And being able to do more, yes. I think I fully support increasing the to £350, but I don't think we should go any more.
And it's been 250 for quite a few
Yeah,
years.
Alison, could we not index link this? It's like you've been framed. It's 250 quid 30 years ago, it's still 250 quid. So we've been giving £250 since 2014. That's 10 years ago. So with inflation, that's now about, what, £310, something like that. So should we not be making this amount of money, should it not be reviewed every year like we do the charges for the leisure centre? We put it up 6%. So should we not be doing that with the community grants as well? Every year looking at a percentage increase.
We have to look at our budget, the pressures on the council. But for this coming year, the guidelines that we'll be sending out for Woodley organisations, are we happy to increase that to 350?
Yes,
absolutely.
Yes.
And then
Yeah.
going forward, if whether we were able to, we could look at that again.
Yeah, that's good.
350 and no change to the individual grant amount.
So on page 70, we have got it details who is given.
These are the new applications that have come in. So this is the first tranche of them to be considered this year. The second lot will be considered in November.
No comments. But the life education one is not just for Woodley children, is it? It's for children across the south and southwest.
The organisation works in the wider southwest area, but what they're applying for is they're applying for funding to pay towards. They're running 2 days of workshops at Highwood Primary School, and there'll be approximately 474 children attending those. The cost of that conference, those workshops, sorry, is just over £1,000, and Highwood are putting £750 towards that. So there is an outstanding amount of £310. And obviously they'll use whatever money we put forward towards that to help fund that if it's approved.
Can I ask if anyone knows much about life education? Kay and I are both ex-governors of Highwood Primary School for a long time. I've never heard of them.
I'd like to know a bit more about.
But they're obviously quite a big organisation, aren't they? If Highwood are prepared to put their hand in their pocket for that sort of amount of money, then they've got to.
They're a
think they're
registered
worth
charity,
doing.
they've been around since 1998. Just trying to have a look. So it's an independent and self-financing charity that delivers UK's leading health, emotional wellbeing and drug education workshops to children aged 3 to 11 across Dorset, Somerset, Devon and Cornwall, Hampshire and the Isle of Wight and the Thames Valley.
Is that their own assessment that they're the UK's leading?
Oh, yeah.
Well, I'm not sure it's like to judge, is it? They're gonna do this.
They
without
said
our
in-
money, whether we think it's.
In 22-23 academic year, over 70, no, it states in over 73,500 children attended one of their workshops. So, assuming that's accurate, that would, that's quite a large number of children.
So is this the usual way round that Life Education are applying to us rather than Highwood Primary School are applying to us? Would we not give a grant to the primary?
Well, I think that the primary school aren't funding that extra money. So the Life Education go in and provide it, the Highwood say they'll pay X amount, and the charity normally gets the rest of its money from donations and grants from other organisations, local groups, trusts, etc., etc. So they're just looking to us to kind of fund that difference because they're doing workshops in one of the Woodley schools.
I would like to know that they were Woodley children mainly, rather than.
Well, 474, it says there, they're going to do it for.
The 474 children will
Oh,
obviously be
obviously.
those at Highwood. There will be a number of those children that may be outside, depends on how obviously popular the school is from an admissions point of view, but a large number of those will be Woodley students.
Okay, so the total budget for these awards, that's community and individual, is £3,000. And we've got £1,200. Yes, Rob.
Sorry, I don't want to interrupt, but off the cuff, having looked at this, I'm not entirely happy with Life Education. Maybe that's my ignorance in not knowing enough about it. But we, as you just say, we've got £3,000. We're doing this twice a year. I would say let's send them 250, and then the other three 350.
Well, the bowling club hasn't provided details of how much the cost is. And, you know, this is what they're asking.
We have the information, so
I know we've got to discuss. I know we've got to discuss those, but you were mentioning about the £3,000, and I think if we're looking at everything as a whole year,
Yeah, I
we're
was
doing it
just
twice a year.
considering that
Mm.
that is going to be a third of what we have to
Okay.
give out. So in November, we will still have 2/3 of that
Yeah.
on these figures, but as you said,
Oh, yes, 250.
Well, it would be nearly half
So-
if we did 350, wouldn't it?
So would we be happier if we went back to Highwood and said, you apply?
well, we could give Highwood the whole, they need an extra £60 on top of that, 310.
I mean,
Is that a proposal?
That company looks all right.
I've heard of, I have heard of Life Education and
Yeah.
But, you know.
So to
Highwood
give-
is
to give the full-
useful.
Yes,
The difference.
yes, 310, yeah,
Yeah,
okay, we'll have that.
definitely,
Would I think we need to consider these individually though.
yes.
Yes, absolutely. sure.
Yes, Woodley Bowling Club, nobody's a member, are they?
No, but we do go to the annual bowls match. Yes, and I'm on the management committee as Woodley.
Yeah.
just to say that the cost of the entire project, they've costed out just under £4,000, they reckon, we really can't do a whole lot.
Wow. It is pretty shabby, I mean, we've been quite a long time, quite a few years, haven't we, it's never,
So needed.
I would say they probably deserve it. Yeah. And we need them to thrive, to pay our rent. That's right.
Yeah, yeah.
And to do the animals.
And-
It's a source, isn't
To
it?
have
you
some
know?
perspective, obviously, the grant to the school is helping 474 Woodley children. There's 90 Woodley members of the bowling club.
Well, it's mainly from Woodley, isn't it?
But they are
Yeah.
a Crown standard,
Yes.
really, aren't they?
Yes.
And they do, we have given them what was the maximum grant last year and the year before.
It's an incredible social activity for people of advancing years, mainly. You know, I think they're a great bunch of people. It does get people out and about.
It does.
And it is completely run by volunteers.
Yeah,
Yes.
nobody's
Yeah.
paid.
Celebrating their 60th anniversary. I hope we're all going to be able to attend the
They're
match
only
this year.
qualified.
Right, so is there a proposal to increase that to 350?
Three
I
fifty.
think it's fine, but I think
Yeah.
350, yes.
Woodley Festival of Music and Arts, approximately 400 from Woodley.
That brings a huge amount of,
Yes, it
economy of
does.
Woodley.
I can.
80%, 85% are school age and 3% are adults. I don't know what the others are.
The other,
About 14, though, this year.
School age is up to 18. I think.
yeah, I went to one of the choir concerts at Embrook School earlier on and presented the prizes. And the standard of the school's young people singing was absolutely astonishing.
How much of the festival is held at the Oakwood Centre?
Basically, the
Yes.
piano.
It used to be a lot.
It is a lot's here.
They do 3 weekends here.
Yes.
And then they do
and,
one
yeah.
other, I think they have done historically at Embrook School.
Car parks overrun.
Yes, it's really
Very
good.
busy for the centre, which is.
And again, the context, if you wanted the entire cost of them running the festival, I guess this is based on this year's cost is £21,000.
It would be interesting one year just to do a bit of triangulation with Brown Bag and see what their profits do those weekends.
Yes, because they're here all day, aren't they?
They're here
Yeah.
all day.
I think
They spend a lot of
like Rob
money in
pointed
there.
out earlier, when you consider it in inflation
Yeah.
costs, we have given them the 250 grants every year since 2013.
Yeah.
My only problem with
To
them
stay.
is it's mostly private sector schools.
Wow.
And
Well, they're Woodley children, whatever school they go to.
No, they're not all, they're from all over the Berkshire.
Oh,
20%.
well, okay,
Yeah.
400,
Yeah.
no, 20, well,
Yeah.
Yeah.
400 from the
But, you know, I tried to get it into schools, but there just isn't space in the curriculum for it.
It is good, definitely.
It is very good.
I know, I've been, yeah.
Does it include-
350.
does it include
Yeah.
choirs?
Mhm.
School choirs?
Yes, sometimes.
So, yeah, but most of the
Yeah.
schools are private schools that enter, not state schools. State schools
Okay.
tend to go to Weissmar and.
Yeah, 350, yeah.
Can you increase that to
Yeah.
350? Thank you. Moving on, Woodley Photographic Club, 49 members and over 90% are from Woodley. They don't apply for a grant every year.
No, 16 and 20, so they left it 4 years each time.
They have got a very specific set out reason, you know, they want a new projector and computer equipment.
And that's in they're good tenants for us here.
Yes, get the money back.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Proposing to increase that to 350.
Yeah.
Thank you. Moving on to the individual grants, we've got 2 applications from Faye Mountford and Pixie Mountford, requesting £100 each towards the cost of representing England in the Dance World Cup. This is the cost of uniform, travel, accommodation, and additional lessons. So this is for their dance school rather than 2 individual people.
Yes, the dance school has been selected to represent England at the Dance World Cup in Prague, and as part of that, they have to obviously pay for their England uniform, travel and accommodation, things like that.
So how many, is this young people, is it children's dance school? How many,
Yes,
how many
yes.
of them?
Why aren't these in the organisational ones?
Yeah.
Because the organisation isn't applying, it's 2 sisters that are applying.
Yeah.
It's
for money
just
to
not-
the
this
same
is normally individual grants are, you know, we had a young lady who was representing England for archery. And we gave her a grant towards her costs,
Yes.
etc. This seems to be a grant for the dance school without any information about how many
That's
Of-
not how I.
Are
read
from
it.
Woodley.
I think it's the
But
individuals.
there are two individuals whose dance school has been chosen. The dancers themselves, having looked at their information on Facebook, will
Oh,
have
so
chosen.
they, when it says Fame Pixies Dance School, it made it sound like it's.
Oh, sorry.
They own.
They are.
They-
Those two that are
Who-
going.
It is, those are two of a number of children, yes, the dance school that are going, the dance school is represented.
What's the name of the dance school?
I think I've tried not to say it, because obviously I'm trying, because the information comes in the public domain, I'd rather not give too much
Well,
information.
this is public money.
Are they both from Woodley residents?
More from a safeguard, point of view. But
Dance
the
school based.
Well, we probably should.
dance school is based in Woodley.
There you go.
The dance school is based in Woodley, and they have been selected to represent England in the competition. A number of students from their dance school
Yes.
are going and have been selected from the dance school to attend.
Right.
They all need to fund it, and the parents of these two children have said that we need the money to.
And they're both Woodley residents.
Yes.
Give them £100 each.
Yes, I think
Yeah.
so.
Agreed.
That's agreed.
Yeah.
I wonder if any other pupils at the dance school are missing out because they didn't know about this.
I wouldn't think so,
In the
mostly in an
situation.
organisation like my girls, you know, into the gymnastics, the actual gymnastics club tells all of them that they can apply. And the ones that need to apply do apply, usually that's.
Alison, you're uncomfortable, what's wrong?
I just, you know. That these are young people whose parents come forward for help rather than others.
Yeah.
Maybe publishing their names was.
But it might not be for that reason.
That's what Matt said.
No, I said, I didn't want to give too much information about
Where
where they go,
from.
where they attend, or stuff like that. If people can find it, if people want to go and find it, they can find it, and they have applied for public money. Historically, we have put children's names in all the information that has
Yes.
gone out for individual applications, so that has happened. If in future it is felt that the individual grant applications should be held in confidential session, then we can consider that. Historically, this is how this has been dealt with.
Historically, we weren't live on YouTube, so perhaps we should have that under confidential.
Doesn't say it, but
Yeah.
Because we couldn't discuss one future.
So have that in part two.
Or at least I think perhaps just having the names redacted from that,
Yes.
so that discussion can still happen
Yes.
in public session.
Yes.
Sorry, are we supporting the
Yes,
request?
Yes, I think so.
Thank you,
I
Mem.
mean, we should be proud of them representing the country.
I may sneeze in a moment, just to warn you.
Well, we'll put on record. Yeah. Congratulations to the dance school, and we wish them all
yes,
success. And, you know,
we do,
when they win, please mention Woodley.
Yes.
Yes.
on the BBC.
Certainly on South today.
Okay, moving on, item 11, we're going to consider the climate emergency action plan, so on page 74 of the agenda. We're being asked to consider approving the updated plan and to fund a carbon footprint assessment of the council's activities.
Do you want to draw some context around this? So I think, obviously as we all know, in 2019, the council declared a climate emergency. And since then, we've had a list of actions that have been in a spreadsheet that have come to meetings with updates as and when they've happened. There hasn't been as much of a strategic approach taken to the climate emergency. So whilst the council has taken some decent decisions and made some good actions to reduce the carbon footprint, it hasn't been measured. We haven't really kind of considered it in a strategic view as to what to do and when, etc. So what we've done is we've tried to pull together an action plan which now provides some background and context around what the council is doing and why. And as part of that action plan as well, it covers the point of the council running a carbon footprint assessment of its activities. One of the key aims of the council is to hit net zero by 2030, and without having an official assessment of that, we're never going to be able to say whether we've achieved that early or not. So that is something that needs to happen
So £8,000 sounds like an awful lot of money to me.
I thought we agreed this earlier in the meeting.
No,
That was money to go into an earmark reserve for climate initiatives.
yes.
And this is one of them to come out of it. So since the report's been written, we've had some quotes in already, but we've got, it looks like the quote's going to come in around about £6,600. So it'll be slightly less than the money that's here. The companies that we've approached, all of them have quoted exactly the same amount for a carbon footprint assessment of £5,000. Alongside the carbon footprint assessment, they can also do scope 3 analysis, which is important. That's things like supply chain. So further down the line of things like when you order your paper, what kind of comes with that. As well, this company does a target setting. So as part of the report, they will also give you targets set and tell you what you can do and what you will reduce. That's an added cost on top. Some of the other companies offer that, some of them don't. And also the ones that offer it at a far more expensive rate. So
how many did we look at?
We contacted 5 and got 3 quotes back. This company,
The Borough Council use.
Borough Council do it in-house, so they have one of their staff that actually does all the assessment work and all the calculations and everything themselves, based on a local government association tool that they have access to. We wouldn't have that knowledge and ability in-house. Obviously, they've got an entire team of climate emergency officers there that work on that. We haven't got that. The other thing is also from that information, that my understanding of that tool is it will give you some raw data out as to what you're using. Won't give you that target setting. The company that at the moment we're looking at and seems to be the best company have got several reports and case studies on their website, including another town council. And the information of a very similar size to us. And the information in that report was really helpful at being able to point out where you are as a council and what you can still do to achieve and reduce your carbon footprint. So,
and we envisaged that we would have to do this every year.
So yes, so Councillor Baker, prior to the meeting, sent his comments in and obviously questioned whether actually we need to do it every year. In the report, it says every year, and actually, I think, reconsidering it, it doesn't need to happen every year. It needs to happen when it needs to happen to show that there is progress going on. So between now and 2030, it depends what action. So it might be that you want to review in terms of the action plan that reference. I think that is in.
The whole point is that they stratify the risks, isn't it? And then you pick off the risks that you can do quickly. And I suspect it's probably a 3-year plan, probably not a 1-year plan.
I mean, since 2019, it's kind of the aim of hitting 2030 is an 11-year plan, isn't it? Really?
So I'm not sure it's every year.
No, I think that's right. I think having said that in here, I think it's not needed. So that is in
page 80, part 5. It says annually the council will commission an independent carbon footprint report.
Yes, you may wish to just consider that wording and review that and change that if you wish.
I think I'm the right man in saying as well that follow-up assessments won't need to do that whole piece of work each time because they will already assess the council's activities across the services. So it'll be more about focusing on those targets that have already been identified.
Would it not be better to have that plan done biannually and then you can see a real difference rather than an increment, especially as we move relatively slowly as a big organisation?
I think we probably need to do it, suck it and see what the objectives, outcomes and objectives are, and see which ones of those we want to measure when. Some will be annual measurements, some might be.
If I could just give you some context in relation to that earmarked reserve, I think what it will get us to is a point where we can then reassess, see where we are, and we'll have money in that earmarked reserve that as we get to the point where we think actually we can do with seeing where we are now, because we've done this, and this, we want to reassess it. And that's where that earmarked reserve again will be there ready to fund that at the point that we get to it, rather than doing it every year.
I think sort of start it off and get it ready and take it on. And then see exactly how.
It's expensive, it looks like it's a going rate, so if we want to do it, we want to do it.
Yeah.
I think we have to do it really. We have to be able to not prove, but show how far we've moved.
Forward, don't we?
Yes.
I think so.
Right.
I think just to say with the solar panels on this, we're actually interesting, the company that we're interested in using provided us with a carbon certificate for the solar panels at the leisure centre. We know that they equated to a saving of 40 kilotons of carbon a year that we reduced. With the same number on this building, you might be talking about sort of 18 kilotons, which of a council our size, it might mean we're already net zero. But the idea of this report is also not just worrying about hitting, we said we would hit net zero and we're going to hit that, but actually where can we still reduce our carbon impact? Because we've got to still look at making sure we're as low as possible to show that we are making that difference. So I think that hopefully this report will enable us to work better towards that rather than just saying we'll change LED lighting and stuff like that. We think we wouldn't even think of that they'll hopefully come up.
And on our new heat pumps, we've approved are going to be a lot more energy efficient.
Yes.
Okay, so we've been asked to note the contents of the report. I think we can. It's an excellent report, so thank you to those who worked very hard to put this together. Are we happy to approve this updated climate emergency action plan?
Could I just say that I'm very proud that we've gone so far along this road. But it started with Carol's thing and we've worked very hard on it. The one thing that makes me sad is that we haven't moved the town on any further, or individuals in the town any further, and they may have moved on themselves.
But I don't think we know that.
No, but I'd like to know what we can do to help residents move towards.
I would point you towards the website, the new website, which is utterly beautiful around climate
There
change.
is, well, maybe we can come back in the next.
I looked for the new website today to find dates of meetings. I couldn't find my way around it.
I think can we
In the end of the
I think Beth will discuss that further in item B. So if we are happy to consider the allocation of £8,000, are you saying it's actually going to be £6,000?
It's more likely going to be six, as we most if we get approval, that's what it will.
Some money out of those reserves that we've already agreed.
Yes.
Yeah. So we put some money in that pot tonight to spend.
We're all in favour of it?
Can I just clarify on the action plan, to talk about changing that reference to annually?
Yeah.
What would you like that change? Would you like it to change to biannually or just leave it?
I think take the word out.
Just
Take
leave
the word
I
out.
would,
just
like
look
the
at
council
and
would.
we
Or you could put word in, the word.
reassess when appropriate.
Yeah, the committee will reassess, yeah.
Part B. Is climate action week. Moving on to page 131. So we have a report on the deputy town clerk. So Matthew.
Yes. So this is following on what Councillor Rowan said. This is about what we can do as a council. I think the second step up on that action plan of looking at what we do as an organisation to reduce carbon footprint is then to look at what we can do to support residents. As Councillor Anderson mentioned, we have fully revamped our climate emergency pages on our website, which went live several weeks ago now, which now has several pages providing guidance and information on waste and recycling, food, consumables, travel, homes, energy, carbon offsetting things. So lots of information there for residents. We're starting to publicise that. At the same time, every time we get new information through, we sign up to several newsletters. Every time we get new information through, we're adding it to that website for residents, and we are starting to promote that. We're also using the annual town meeting as a way, again, we did it a couple of years ago, of doing a presentation on climate emergency for people there. And we've done quite a lot of work on trying to invite organisations to attend that, and being linked to community heroes, we've got people coming. Now, as part of the annual town meeting subcommittee's original discussion around that meeting, it was suggested that we would run a climate exhibition during the day leading up to the annual town meeting. That prompted us to have conversations with Woking Borough Council to try and see who might be able to help them attend that. And those conversations have been very, very good with the team there. They've been, I mean, I've found the staff there being brilliant. They've been really helpful. They felt that May would be too soon for them to be able to help us with anything. And in hindsight, we felt that actually if we ran an exhibition here, we wouldn't have the pool to be able to do that. So further conversations have led on to this, the suggestion of running a climate action week to coincide with COP at the end of the year, which runs in November. There are a number of ideas and suggestions that have come out of that, and at the moment we haven't fully decided on which ones we will pursue and which ones we won't. But I've listed on page 121 and turning over to 122 the suggestions that we have had, and they are all activities that we feel we are able to deliver. I won't go through each of them individually because hopefully you will have read them. So what this report is really asking members to do is obviously to consider the running of the Climate Action Week and to approve the council to go forward with that in collaboration with Woking Borough Council. From our point of view as officers, it's quite important to try and build those relationships with Woking Borough Council. As mentioned earlier, they have a team of climate emergency experts. They have links, they have information that we don't have. And at the same time, we have resources here in terms of the building and staff that they also don't have. So working together, we think we can really run a really decent number of little events during those weeks that will come together to make hopefully a big impact and raise the issue with residents.
So I think this is a fantastic project. It's very exciting. Really pleased to hear the enthusiasm you have for it. I can see you're quite passionate about all these ideas. Anybody wants to ask Matthew?
I think we really with those guys, and they were really happy to help. They just couldn't do it in our time frame for May. So May's sort of 2, and I think this is really important we do this. And linking it with COP, we've got time to get the comms right. I think it would be really, really useful, and I just would urge all councillors to engage with it.
I mean, I certainly think at the annual town meeting, we residents want to put forward more ideas of what we can do.
Well, there is the way it's been structured, there is a focus on climate emergency. So it's a nice little introduction, we'll taste through and we'll point them towards the website. But this will, I think, will be really important.
We're seeking a speaker, aren't we?
What?
It says.
Yes, do we have any progress on the speaker for the town meeting?
Oh, the town meeting, so these are presentation, Woking Borough Council officers are going to be providing that along with myself. They are trying, they obviously got links with Reading University, and I think they're trying to get some resource from them in terms of a video and things that they've got going. So yeah, they've got lots of questions.
They've been very helpful resource.
Any further questions?
No, it's nice to see the repair cafe on there. We'll have to behave that week.
Right, so are we all happy to vote to approve the running of the fund action?
Yes.
Budget.
Not at this moment in time. There will come a time when we'll need to think about if we're getting schools involved in events, we want to offer prizes, there will be some. But we're hoping that actually it will be relatively minimal in terms of resource, and that's some of the benefit of this actually for us.
Okay.
But would it tie in time-wise with the Christmas extravaganza? So pretty close to the tree or something.
Just before that.
Yeah.
There's a few events that it will tie in with potentially, depending on some decisions that are made. But one, for example, the community orchard will be that was approved at Leisure Services. That will be being planted up in October probably, and we're going to get hopefully some young people involved in that. And then we'll do aim to do maybe an opening of it during that week. So that's another, again, the number of events we can do and link into that will hopefully just give it that impetus.
So that's 2 weekends. 11th to the 22nd of November, and then the first weekend will be Remembrance Weekend, which is always a very important event in Woodley.
Yeah.
So have to be mindful.
I think the aim for us is to run it whilst COP runs for a longer period. We will aim to run our event over a week, probably that second week of COP. Which then is from the weekend after the Remembrance, because we'll obviously be busy with Remembrance that week before, so we'll do it the weekend after.
Recycle papers, poppy store.
Yeah, the group that, the community group that run the Remember It Sunday event, who recycled it. Yes, yeah.
Okay, so we're in favour of that. We look forward to hearing more of that. Kate?
Oh, no,
Oh, okay.
I can't say I'm in favour of it.
Right, moving on to item 12, the fixed asset policy. This is on page 123. There is an appendix A. You can see the principles for recording the council's assets. Kevin?
Yes, thank you. It's quite a short report, and hopefully quite straightforward. The council does keep a fixed asset register as required under the audit regulations. Our conversation with the internal auditor that we've had and was basically a recommendation around the council approving a fixed asset policy that register then feeds into, which we don't actually have at the moment. Appendix A on page 124 sets out a draft policy about how assets are managed and also important about how assets are disposed of at the end of their life and how that's reported back to members, because at the moment that's not recorded in a formal policy. So officers are reviewing the format and content of the asset register so that better reflects reality, because over time I think there's been some ambiguity about what's on it, what's not on it, so rationalising that so that it fits in with the policy. And the policy document that's drafted there is based largely on a model policy that a lot of other town councils, particularly ones of our size, have in place. So it does cover the legislative requirements as well as just some good practice. So members are asked to consider the adoption of that policy. And just as a note, what will happen going forwards is that asset register will be reported back to this committee on a regular basis so that members have sight of that and have an overview of it, which at the moment doesn't happen.
Any questions? We're all happy to approve this? Thank you. Moving on, item 13, the outdoor sports hire rates. These are recommendations that have come from the Local Services Committee at their meeting on the 2nd of April.
Yeah, if I can just outline that. This is basically to approve or ask the committee to approve the rate currently being charged for the partner clubs for the 3G pitch, that being £73 per hour, and then the mini pitch rate of £13 an hour. This follows a recommendation again from the internal auditor for the council to formally approve those charges, which were not considered as part of the charges the full council approved in February. Councillor Swallow said that did go to the Leisure Services Committee on the 2nd of April and was agreed to be presented to this council for approval.
Just a quick question. Are these the going rate? How are these rates arrived at?
Yes, so historically, right from when the 3G pitch was established, we had a lot of discussions with partner clubs about what the charging framework would look like. That also forms part of the business plan for the 3G pitch, which is discussed with the Football Foundation and the FA through the steering group, which reports to Leisure Services, slightly complicated. But those charges are included within that. What was missing was the council's approval of those specific charges, which the internal auditor felt should happen.
So I'm just, was this discussed at length at the Leisure Services Committee?
Yes, it was. Greg, if you go on page 129,
yeah,
he's got the prices there of various things, and Ed does a brilliant job. He goes around all the other places and finds out the prices.
okay.
So, for example, he's got different things here. So, football per match, £75. He's got the sports park, and they're £74. So he's checks the prices with other places, and he does, I don't know, sort of a 6 mile radius, that sort of thing.
That's fine.
So this is just a tidying up exercise, Kevin, is it? It's something
It is,
that's
Can
we haven't formally included in the past. Okay.
It's just one query. In the tennis, I noticed that the peak non-member is much higher than it is in any of the other South Reading, Loddon Valley Old Sports Park. I just wondered why.
Speak with the village services manager and.
I just saw that it seemed so much more expensive than the others are all very good and pricey, but that one, I just wondered why. But,
I will find out.
that's fine.
Can I ask a question? Community rate, what qualifies as community? Is that like a local group or what does community mean?
On the private side.
Well, just for cricket and for 3G pitch, how do you get to be
There is,
community?
just to say, there is a recommendation for leisure services to review the use of some of the terminology making it for next year's rates. So
Just
to make sure
I
that-
don't know if you rocked up and said, you know.
Usually it's someone who lives in Woodley that's.
But no, I was going to ask what defines a partner club. But however, you know,
But if
this
you
is
could-
one of those things that's already been through.
Yeah. And if they
It
could
always seems odd that it then comes to us. And, as Rob is a member of that committee, I'm sure that they do dig into it and ask a lot of questions.
Someone I just missed that one, it just seemed very high.
Yes, good point.
Yeah, are we happy to
Yeah.
Yeah.
accept the recommendation of the introduction? Thank you.
You can do this again, Alison, this is very good time.
So we then have future agenda items for the committee to consider. Now, I understand Rob has something he wanted to make. I understand that as a town council, we have a significant anniversary.
Oh, thank you. I've got so much going on in my life at the moment. Yes, so I emailed Kevin about this. 1974, Woodley Town Council was formed, because prior to that it was Woodley and Sandford Parish Council. So as it's its 50th birthday, I thought it would be nice if we could actually do something to mark it. Now, I've got a feeling it's going to end up being a tree, but wouldn't it be nice if it was something completely different that we could actually do? And I was talking to someone the other day, and I forget who it was, and I came up and said a mosaic. And they reminded me we've got a mosaic here,
how
the children did, there's something over there. So it's just whether we should actually mark it,
Yes.
which I think we should, how we could do it, and how we can turn it around PDQ and get it done when it's due.
We're considering we are still discussing halting of the coronation.
Which one? The cute one.
Sorry.
Don't hold your breath.
Yeah, it would have been April from the start of the financial year. But if I could just chip in, because we do have a potential project, which hasn't come to this committee yet, 'cause it's not formed or costed. But we have been looking at, and our communications manager has been driving this as a really, what looks like a really good idea, is a timeline of Woodley down the corridor, down towards the council offices on that kind of where we would be able to show that history of Woodley and the town council within that, of significant events and occurrences and the history of the council. There's something similar at Shinfield, which we are going to have a look at, do something really quite special along there, I think. So the intention is to bring something back to this committee, which very much fit with that 50th anniversary, and would just be a really good feature for.
Would that replace the aerial map that's rather dated?
No, so talking further down and on the other side, so the long section of wall that you can see from outside as well through the windows there. I think that could look quite special along there.
Because considering that we've grown from a very small parish council to one of the largest town councils in the country, I think we should be proud of ourselves.
Yeah. And it's not a tree.
Yes.
Yes, thank you. Kevin did send me a picture of one you saw at.
That was Shinfield. So what we're thinking is something that's kind of in glass and in relief from the wall.
Yeah.
With,
Because you always see people looking at the maps,
Yeah.
the photographs, the aerial
That's
photographs.
true.
I mean, you think how much the town has changed.
Yes, it
Something like that would be fantastic. Do we get enough footfall coming through the Equid Centre? Should it be something in the precinct? Should it be something in the park?
Yeah, well, I suppose bearing in mind that I think that the War Memorial highlighting the you know contributions,
Yeah.
the lives given of Woodley local people that is fantastic, but it is outside in the park. It's not here inside the centre.
Yeah.
So whilst it sounds very exciting,
We're doing
I think
the
something-
coronation seating area
Yes.
and the orchard.
Yeah.
So if we've got those two things outside, then there's nothing wrong with having something inside, is there?
No.
Good
And I
point.
mean, we can be proud of the fact that we've grown, but we're a real good community
Yes,
still,
Yeah.
not
It's the home of the council.
Yeah.
yes.
It's really good, I think.
We do get a lot of people looking at the mail, looking at the information provided. At the moment, there's a very big blank.
So it's just something about the cons of that, isn't there?
Yes.
Because, you know, it's what we're celebrating, why we're celebrating it. We need to get some sort of seating out there, PDQ quietly, because
Yes.
it's a year late now. The orchard, we could just double brand it and put that as the 50th thing as well. Why not? Nobody knows any different, you know, we want to do that, don't we? You know, we want to do the orchard so we can double brand it.
And that project is ready to go, so it's just plant the right planting.
So I think that would be lovely, and I think it's perfectly legitimate to do that.
Maybe trees.
Well, yeah, but trees are good, aren't they?
yeah, why not? I agree. Why not put it as the anniversary orchard
Well, and, you know.
with the coronation seating?
Yeah.
Can you get it all done by the end of the month, Gary?
You've got weekend.
I think the thing inside is nice, and I'm that map looks a bit tired, if I'm honest,
Yes.
so it would be nice to have something else.
I think if perhaps I can bring something back to the next meeting.
Yeah, that'd be great.
Some Images with it.
Yeah, thank you.
I think it would be good to try and get something out extreme, but sort of by end of summer, because then there are lots of people around, there's lots of footfall, and that feels like a time to celebrate it and name check it, you know,
Yeah.
good.
Definitely ought to do that.
Good.
I commend you for reaching out to the the parish clerk in Shinfield, because if they discovered which companies
Yeah.
you contended for this,
Yeah.
it's going to be helpful. That's the School Green Centre.
Yes.
But if anyone of us in Shinfield, we'll have to pop in and have a look.
Thank you for reminding me about Molly.
The Golden Jubilee of Woodley Town Council.
Yes. Well, why not?
And certainly the school at Carnival should reflect that.
I think we should all be proud of ourselves in Woodley. I think it's a wonderful town.
Keep the sash.
The mayor has over 50th anniversary there.
Isn't it?
I can do that. Quite happy to wear a crown and a sash.
Okay, that leads us into item 15, publicity and website. We're not really at the stage to be publicising the climate action week yet, or?
It will be publicised, so
But not
you don't need to ask
immediately
us to publicise it, we will publicise
No,
it.
I think normally this item is things that we would like you to publicise
definitely.
next week. And certainly then, we've got the community and individual grants.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah.
Town meetings out there, anyway.
Right, so moving to item 16, I'm going to say goodbye to you, Michael.
Oh, Michael.
Item 16, the exclusion of public press. Thank you very much. for
Good night.
Oh, you should be a councillor.
To resolve that in line with Standing Order 12.2, in view of the confidential nature of the business about to be transacted in relation to contractual matters, it is advisable in the public interest that the public and press are temporarily excluded and they're asked to withdraw for item 17 on the agenda.
Take a vote on that, please.
Would you like to vote if you're in favour of doing this?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you.
Before we start,